So we start with prenatal development. When we start with prenatal development, remember we talked at the end of last chapter, we talked about the zygote? Yes? Okay. In regards to this, we literally call, what's a zygote when what happens? What's the other word for egg? Ovum. So when the sperm hits the ovum, we have what's called conception. At this point, we have a zygote. The zygote must then implant. Within this stage, this is all called the germinal stage. It is the first stage of prenatal development. Germinal stage, first stage of prenatal development. We have zygote because of ovum and sperm meeting, which created conception, which then did implantation. Everybody got that? Pretty simple, right? Good. We then move into what is called the embryonic stage. The zygote is now 8 weeks old. We have the embryonic stage. We now have an embryo. Okay, so we went from a zygote to an embryo. We have an embryo, 8 weeks of development. This is when we start to have a little bit more things are changing. The placenta cord is now attaching. You actually have waste exchanging from mother and embryo. So you have a lot of things occurring at this time. Before this, you still did have a brain and spinal cord developed in your germinal stage, but now you see a little bit more development in this 8 week period. So we've hit 8 weeks. We're in the embryonic phase. You have an embryo, and you have placenta developing. You have spinal cord. Umbilical cord attaching. This is all happening in this 8th week of development. Does everybody follow? All right. After 8 weeks, we have what is called the fetal stage. We now have a fetus. Okay? We are now in the 3rd month. We went from conception to 8 weeks to the 3rd month. When we hit the 3rd month, we change to what is called the fetal stage. Fetus has now occurred. We move from a zygote to an embryo to a fetus. You have a fetus, and this is where you start to change and gain size rapidly. When I say rapidly, pretty quick. All right, so we start off with the woman giving a what? The woman releases egg. What finds the ovum? Sperm and ovum meet. They now have a. 8 weeks, we now have a. Embryo changes into a. Fetus moves into a. Infant. Everybody was like, that's when infant starts. Okay, so now we start what we call childhood. All right, we have a childhood now. And we move into childhood. The first thing that we start to look at is the reflexes. Whenever you see an infant born, you'll see the doctors take the infants off or the nurse will take the infants off and start to measure different things. They're measuring for certain reflexes. These reflexes allow us to make sure that there are certain developmental stages met. So when you look for these stages, you're looking for reflex stages. You're also looking for motor development. If not, we now know that there's cognitive function impairment or developmentally delayed child that we have to start to look at throughout the child's life. Does that make sense? So all of these things are significant. So we're going to talk about a couple of the reflexes. Rooting is the first one. Rooting is when you actually take your hand, brush it against the cheek of the infant, and the infant turns their head. You take your finger, brush it against their cheek, they turn their head in the direction of the brush. Brush cheek, infant turns head in direction of the brush. Anything brushed against that infant's cheek, that infant's going to turn their head that way. It's a reflex. They're not alert. They're not trying to respond. It's just literally a reflex. Sucking, pretty self-explanatory. Put anything inside of an infant's mouth, they start to suck. It is literally a reflex. This is the one that doctors and nurses really worry about, because if the infant cannot perform this reflex, they will not create any type of sucking ability and will not have nutrients. And this is when you have to have a force-feeding baby. So literally sucking is very important for the purpose that you have to make sure this baby can take in nutrients. Skip withdrawal and go to startle. Startle is also called moro. M-O-R-O. What happens in moro is when an infant feels as if it's about to fall, it will arch its back, tuck its head, spread its limbs. Arch its back, tuck the head, spread the limbs. Arch the back, tuck the head, spread the limbs. Arch the back, tuck the head, spread the limbs. Feeling as if they're about to fall. Whenever they feel like they're about to fall, they'll do that. You still do it now. If you ever have a dream where you feel like you're falling, what do? What's the movement you make? Do you know? Do you, who's almost fell off the bed accidentally? Okay, if you haven't, it's an experience you need to experience before. Okay, what you feel yourself doing this. What you're doing is going into mortal stance. You're tucking your head, you're spreading your limbs, and you're going to arch the back. Okay, it's literally a reflex you've had since birth. Got it? All right. Grasping. Everybody knows if you put anything inside of an infant's hand, they will tighten a grip around it that they will never let go. It is actually a reflex. Anything that they get in their hand, the minute that they feel it, it's just going to grasp. It's actually a reflex. It's called the grasping reflex. Okay. Babinski. Babinski is the other one you need to know. It's not on your slide. You need to write it. Babinski is actually when you brush the foot of the child and the toes curl. Brush the foot of the child and the toes curl. Yep. You hear a lot of parents always say, oh, they hate wearing shoes. No, the minute you touch those feet, Babinski reflex kicks in, and it literally just tightens up to where you can't put the shoe in, so you got to try to relax. But every time you try to relax that foot, that reflex kicks in. You're kicking in. It's usually a different type of trauma when we talk about curling back. It also depends on the way they're doing it. If it's more of a stretch of an opening fan of a toe, or if it's a closed toe. So it really depends on. And a lot of times we look at a lot of your reflexes, a lot of your movement in a baby, because they cannot speak, their body will tell you a lot of things that are going on. Okay, so when that baby goes in for those checks, when the doctor does so many checks, so many months, they're actually checking reflex design, they're checking motor development design, they're checking quite a few things, and cognitive functioning. They'll even do eye things because a child has to be able to keep an attention span for so long. Okay, an infant can actually tell if something is positive or negative by its stare. Does that make sense? If they stare at it for a long period of time, they literally recognize if it's comfortable, if it's literally pleasant to them. They'll stare and they'll recognize this is a pleasant thing. If you reenact a whole situation with stuffed animals in front of this infant who cannot speak, and then you have this bad stuffed animal and a good stuffed animal, you then move them to the side, they will fixate on the good stuffed animal for longer because they've recognized the bad inside of the bad stuffed animal. They're really capable of doing these things. Also, once you originally show them anything, they'll have a visual stare. They'll stare at it for a very long time. They're trying to create a concept around it. Once they have created the concept, next time you introduce them to it, it'll be a glance because they already have a concept and seen it before. Every time they see something new, the stare will last longer so they can gain insight and create a concept to say, okay, this is what this looks like, this is what it looks like. Next time you show it, it's a quick glare because we've seen it already. Make sense? They're pretty brilliant in their little mind that cannot speak. All right. Your motor development literally is an environmental factor. We often you hear a lot of parents say, because my second child walked faster than my first child. My first child did this faster. It literally has a lot to do with your brain maturity, and it also has to do with the environmental factors. Is the parent actually influencing the child to walk faster? Is that first child pulling that second child to move quicker? So the motor development is based on not only the brain, but also the environmental influence. Okay. When we look at motor development, we're actually looking at crawling, turning, sitting up, head sitting up. So there's certain places that the doctor is literally going to say, you must meet this criteria, but you can actually come a little bit earlier and it'll be okay. If you go later, we're going to start looking at developmental delays in regards to your motor capabilities. Do you follow me so far? So literally this chart is how many weeks the baby should be at the time that they're doing certain things. If it's earlier, we're great. If it's later, it's a concern for us. Okay? Are y'all awake today? Because it's a little silent. All right, just to make sure. All right, perceptual development. This goes back to the whole idea of the perception. Um, Fixation time is what we call when the child is trying to literally see. I need to see this. So if we showed this child, let's just say this remote. First time we have an infant that's about, let's just put them at 3 months old. First time you ever seen a remote. They're just going to keep staring at it for a while. Every time you move it, they're just going to keep staring at it until they get a concept of it. They might turn away and look back because they're trying to make sure I get this picture. Now, 2 days later, you can show it to them. They'll look at it and turn away. I already know what it looks like. I've seen it before. Okay, they'll do it to faces as well. A new person comes and they'll just keep staring at the person until they get a picture. Now, next time the person comes in, they'll just look and glare away because I now already have a concept of who that is. They will actually create a concept of the sound before they do the face. That's why they know mama so well. It's not her face they know, it's her sound they know. Without a doubt. And we often tell parents, if you have children, a spouse that's actively involved, I always have to say that because nowadays it doesn't happen like it should. That spouse and those children should talk to that infant internally because the infant is actually doing brain development at that time, can hear these voices. So when they come out, they recognize the voice. She hears it. She comprehends it. She also comprehends fear of the mother. She comprehends when the mother is in a situation that is uncomfortable. Um, she comprehends turmoil of the mother. She comprehends external stress. They comprehend all of that. And they pick up the temperament from all of that. So it affects it. We actually, you'll learn a couple, the mother's temperament creates the temperament of the child. So if the mother is afraid, sad, hurt that she's pregnant, this baby will develop this temperament and usually is a very quiet, pulled back child. And it was all because mom. It was her fault. So through this, you'll learn a lot of stuff you go talk to your mom about. The visual cliff experience, really important. What they did was they took a table. This table was like a clear table. Underneath it, it had a checkerboard. Now, halfway through this table, the checkerboard looked like it dropped, like a cliff. But technically, it's a table that is just clear. So they sit the infant on this side, put the mother on this side, and then told the mother to get the infant to crawl across the table. Okay, what do you think occurred? Does the infant crawl all the way across the table? Where does the infant stop? Right where the cliff, because as long as the infant can pick up the perception that this is unsafe and stop, we know that their sight is pretty good. If they continue across, we got eye problems. We got perception problems. Does that make sense? We even found out infants that cannot crawl yet. If you place them at the corner where it looks like it's about to crawl, they'll start to scream because they can see the drop. Okay? And that's your visual cliff experiment. Following me so far? Is that a yes? All right, y'all keep me letting me go. I keep it going. Newborns hear normal, prefer mother's voice, show no preference for father's voice. Literally, mommy's voice is soothing, and there's a reason for it. For 9 months, that's all they heard was her voice. When she was upset, when she was happy, when she was in the bathroom singing, when she was in talking to somebody else, they might have thought she was talking. It was her voice that they hear all the time, so they prefer her voice. Okay. It is also amazing how this physical development also enhances the mother's ability to hear. Okay. Motherhood actually changes the mother's ability to become more perceptive and more receptive of the sound of her child's voice. It's always amazing in a playground full of children, when one child screams mom, mom usually knows that's her child. Okay? And it's just really based on how all of this starts to develop at the same time. We then move into what is called cognitive development. What's cognitive development mean? Mental processing. All right. So we're going to break it down. In this chapter, we're starting the first part of the theories. You're going to learn 3 different theories right now. Okay? In cognitive development, you're going to learn Piaget, Sociocultural, you're going to learn Vygotsky. And then moral, you're going to learn Kohlberg. So today you're going to learn three: cognitive, sociocultural, and moral. So we're going to start off with Piaget. Piaget literally did a lot of information in regards to what is called your schema or your concept. Your schema is your idea. It's your basic idea of anything. A schema is a basic idea of anything. It's a concept. Okay, so your schema is a basic idea or a concept. So when you guys were, when did you learn about an apple? Kindergarten? Who didn't learn about apples in kindergarten? Preschool, kindergarten? You know what apple was, right? All right, what's an apple? What did you learn in kindergarten? It's been that long? What you learn what? It was red. We knew it was red. What else did we learn? It was round. What else did we learn? Had an A. Well, we didn't. When we looked at it, we didn't know that. When they said this is an apple, you were like, oh, it's red. It's round. What else did you say? Food. You probably said that. Eat it. We all agree. We said these three things. Everybody else might have said something different, but we got this, right? Food, red, and round. Anything that was food, red, and round that's our concept. That was our schema. So no matter what they put in front of us, like a plum, we probably said what? Apple. And your mom said, no, hun, that's not an apple. You like, uh-huh. Apple. She had those plastic, I don't know if you grew up with them. My grandma had them plastic fruits on the table. All I knew, round, red, it should be food. I should be able to bite into this. Okay? What else did we probably thought was round, red, and then some food? Cherries. They said, all you thought was, ooh, mommy, small apples. Mommy, tiny apples. But to you, it was an apple. That was your schema. But as you start to develop, she started to tell you, no, they're not all apples. You start to create what is assimilation. You gained more knowledge about your original concept. Okay? So we start to realize as we assimilated, it was red, it was a fruit. Should be hard in the middle, we hope. It's a good apple. It's still round. It had a different texture. We started to realize, okay, we've got this basic concept. We now start to assimilate, but then we were able to accommodate. We understood the differences. Everybody get it? So let's try how this works now. Assimilation is when you start to gain information regarding the concept. Accommodation is when you now know the difference. You do this for the rest of your life. Does that make sense? So let's go back to the basic concept of an apple. And I'm going to show how all of you right now are about to assimilate and accommodate. All right, what are apples? They're what? Round. What else? Red. Food. I hope y'all know a little bit more now. What else is an apple? Fruit. Okay. Texture. Colors. Do y'all all know this? All right. Now we're about to assimilate. These are apples, but guess what they have? You just can't go and say, can I have the hard apple with the soft inside, deep red, round color? Because what is the grocery store going to ask you? What kind of apple do you want? So now you got to start realizing, okay, I'm assimilate that these apples got names, and the different names represent different textures, different tastes, different things you're supposed to do. And some you should bake with, some you should eat. Some taste good, some taste bitter, some taste sweet, some are harder, some only come in a certain season. All of y'all looking like, what in the world she talking about? These are just some apples at the grocery store. You're starting to assimilate new information. Now I'm about to accommodate. You about to go to the grocery store with a whole new experience now. Okay? This is experience. If you wanted a Kiku apple, you might want a Honey Crisp apple. You might want a Red Delicious apple. You might want a Gala apple. You might want a Pink Lady apple. You might want a Fuji apple. You might want a Macintosh apple. You might want a Jonathan apple. You might want a yellow apple. And that's just a couple. Each one tastes different. Each one has a different purpose. Honeycrisp only come in certain seasons. Probably the most expensive. Probably costs you like $4 a pound. Best apple ever you'll eat. Tastes like candy. Really good. It is when I say the best, it's good. Kiku apple is very hard. And when I say hard, you might want to bite it. Take a knife and cut it. It's just that hard, but it's a very sweet taste. Red Delicious, you probably all ate those before. Gala, kind of sweet. Pink Lady reminds you of Honeycrisp, but it comes out at a different season, so you can get it usually year-round. Honeycrisp is usually just a fall or spring apple. Fuji, you can get it pretty much all the time. Macintosh kind of tastes like the Red Delicious. Jonathan's a little bit bitter, and yellow kind of tastes a little bit like your Granny Smith, but yet a little bit lighter in the sour taste. Now, you just accommodated. God dog it, they got a whole lot of apples. So when you go to the grocery store next time, you're going to start looking at the sign, not just the price that said 99-cent sale, $3.49. You're going to really, what are you going to think when you see $3.49? Oh, that's probably a what? Honeycrisp. I might get one of those. It's going to cost you $1, but I'm going to get one of those. Because now you've just accommodated a new understanding of apples. Make sense? Now I'm going to take it a little step further. Inside of Kroger, they have this apple called a it comes 4 in a container, plastic container. Looks like an apple, tastes like a grape. This is true fruit in the department. Looks like an apple, tastes like a grape. It's a hybrid fruit. Somebody made it in the factory. If you bite into it, it will taste like a grape. But when you look at it, it looks like an apple. So what do you think people do when they first pick up this container? I just picked it up. What do? I probably smell it, probably turn it around. Because what am I trying to do? I'm trying to assimilate first, like, it's apple, okay? I'm then trying to assimilate, like, it smells like apple grapish. Once I realize, like, oh, okay, I get it. I'm now accommodated. When somebody says, oh, I had a grape, you're like, oh, the apple tastes like a grape. You've now accommodated the understanding. Make sense? You do it for the rest of your life regarding different information. Let's look a little bit one other further. A dog, 3 years old. All of you were 3 at one time. What did the dog look like? Fur. Okay. What else? Fur. What did he have? Ears. Tail. Anything else? A collar? Maybe. 4 legs. We all agree, right? Them was the dogs we saw. All right. You outside playing. You're 3. Your ball went over to the tree. And a little furry, 4-legged, long tail ear thing came down the tree. And you said, Mommy, what just came out the tree? A dog. And your mommy said, oh, no, no. And you like, pet the dog, Mommy, pet the dog. And your mama like, don't pet that dog. Because it's a what? Squirrel. Then you came, opened the door one late night, and your mommy said, we're going to put this out in the trash. On top of the trash was a big, black, 4-legged, furry, long-tailed ear with a white stripe dog. You saw. And you said, Mommy, pretty dog. And your mommy said, oh, no, no. That's a what? Skunk. But to you, everything was a dog. Then you're driving down the street. You're in the hills or someplace. And it was this big, large, four-legged, little fur, small tail dog eating grass. And you said, Mommy, big dog. And your mommy said, no, 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 honey. That's a cow. You started to assimilate information to accommodate the new thing. But you started off with the basic schema that everything that was a dog had this. Make sense? You got it now? Because I'm going over this because you know it's on the test and you got to figure out which section is happening with this person, right? Who doesn't get it? Good. Just the beginning. So, after Piaget realized we have schemas, assimilation, accommodation, he then said each of these things happen in a stage. So there's certain stages in your life that things have to happen and develop. He broke these stages down into 5 different stages. Okay, so they're called 5 stages of cognitive development. The first stage is the sensory motor stage. Let's look at this word and divide it into 2 parts. What's the 2 parts? Sense and motor. So literally what he says is you literally understand, because remember, cognitive is about what? Mental processing. So he literally says you process the world in 2 ways, through your senses and your motor skills in the first stage of life. Does that make sense to you? Why does it make sense? That's what you got to work with. So let's take a 9-month-old. Just learn how to walk. What are they doing? Who's ever seen a 9-month? Oh. Okay, we've been around 9 months, right? Okay. What are they doing? Okay, what else are they doing? They just got to this table right here. They're grabbing everything, and they don't care what you say. Why do they need to grab it? Because they take and understand the world through their senses. You can't literally just say, cup. No, I have to grab it, to feel it, to understand it. Because this is how I understand the world. I understand the world through my senses and my motor skills. When I first learned how to walk, you will not be able to tell me to walk, because I'm going to think I'm supposed to do what at all times. Usually when you look at a baby, hold their fingers like this. Are they walking? What usually are they trying to do? Y'all don't even realize it. You walking slow, and what's their feet doing? What movement are they doing? Do they want to walk slow? They really want to do what? Run. So when they first started off, you know that thing they do, fall on their face? They get back up, fall on their face? Because the whole idea is that if I take it slow, I'll miss the world. I've got to move fast because that's the only way I understand the world. And once they master running, it's over. Okay, because that's how I understand the world. I understand through my motor skills. I got to touch everything. I have to taste everything. If I get it in my hand, it's going in my mouth. Because I got to taste it to understand it. So you know that glass vase that's on the table that you keep saying, don't touch? Don't touch? I don't understand that. Because I need to understand what it feels like to know why I should not touch it. So the best thing for you to do for me is don't put it there all shiny, pretty, and bright, because right now it's looking really nice because I take things in through what I see, what I hear, what I feel. So this bright little thing that's shining, that looks so pretty, I just need to grab it, and you keep telling me don't touch it. So what you need to do is let me touch it and tell me it's glass, and then put it back. Now tell me don't touch it. Because now I've already taken it into the world. I don't need it anymore. I got it. I understand what it feels like. But the minute you keep telling me I can't, I got to understand it, and the only way I can understand it is if I feel it. So when you're not looking, I'm going to keep doing this. And you like, don't touch that, Cherie. Don't touch that, Cherie. I just got to touch it because I need to feel it to understand it. Does that make sense? So all y'all who got stuff on the table, if they see it, they got to touch it. The other thing that happens this time is called object permanence. Who's ever played peekaboo with a kid? What happened when you play peekaboo? They laugh. Why they laugh? Technically, why they laughed is at this age, if it disappears and I can't see it, it's gone. So when you play peekaboo and you went like this, your face disappeared. When you did like this, your face reappeared. You are magical to me right now. I am 9 months old, and you can make your face disappear and reappear. And I think this is hilarious because I can't, you really can do it within seconds. This is beautiful. I'm amazed. We're going to laugh all night because you just keep disappearing and reappearing, disappearing and reappearing. I could play this game for hours. Now, object permanence kicks in when I move your hand and I realize mommy not all that great. Mommy behind her hands. Okay. I'll also play with you the high chair drop game right now because I'm about to show you how good I am at this magic trick. If I drop it on the floor, I made it disappear. You bent down to get it, you disappeared too. Then you came up with the toy, you reappeared, and the toy reappeared. This is fantastic. I am brilliant. I can make my mama disappear with the toy, and I can make her reappear with the toy. I can make my mama disappear, I can make her reappear. And I'm just laughing because you disappear, you reappear. And you hollering, I could care less what you hollering about because I'm amazed that I can make you disappear and reappear. Okay? It's literally object permanence. Once 6 months, 7 months, we kind of start realizing we can realize that they don't know. This is when they start picking up the covers because you put the toy underneath the cover. I can realize something's not right. Just because it's out of my sight doesn't mean it disappeared. Does that make sense? Okay. We then move into what's called pre-operational stage. We're moving up in our development and the way we understand the world. We now can understand the world through symbols. Okay, we're about 3 now, 4, 5, 6. We understand the world through symbols. The first thing we are gonna experience is what is called egocentrism. This is a problem because right now I'm about 4 years old and I can only understand the world through my own perception. I can only understand the world through my perception. Egocentrism. Egocentrism is gonna come back right around adolescence. I only understand the world through my perception. So you worked all day, you came home, I want to play, and you say, what do you say to me? No, I'm tired. I'm not tired. So I'm not tired. That means that mommy and daddy not tired. Because I was going all day, y'all were going all day, I got energy, y'all got energy. I don't understand what you're talking about, you tired. Or I might say, okay, we rest, mommy. We gonna lay there and I'm gonna keep picking up your eyes like, mommy, you sleep yet, mommy? You sleep yet, mommy? You tired, mommy? Because I don't understand tired, because I'm not tired. Does that make sense? Okay. I also have an issue. We're at the store. We're at Walmart, and I see this toy I want. I really, really want it. And you tell me what? Why do you say no? I don't have the money. Good job, mommy. So I want this shiny pair of scissors. I mean, hope you're not buying these, but okay. And you say no. Put that back. We don't have the money for it. Okay. Put it back. We get to the cash register, and you got to pay for all the stuff that's in the basket that is food. And you pull out what? Money. We got a problem. Because back there you just told me we had what? No money. And you just pulled out money? Mom, you got money. I might have a fit now because I'm not understanding the concept. Or I might say, I'll tell to you, when one of these little things, we don't have money. Mommy, use your card. Because to me, the card is not linked to anything but you swipe it, we walk out. No money exchange. It's a magical card. You put it in a machine, money comes out. This card is amazing. I don't realize I gotta pay it or that it's gotta have money in the bank to work. It's just you swipe it, we get stuff. So we don't need money. And she might say, mommy, we don't need money. And you like, well, what do we need? Your card. No, hun, it doesn't work like that. Why not? Do you have your card, mommy? I got my card. Use your card, mommy. No, honey, it doesn't work like that. I can't understand that right now. I will pick up the phone and you say, tell him I'm not here. I'm going to pick up the phone and say, my mama says she not here. That's just where I'm at right now. That's what I understand. Does that make sense? That's just me. I'm also going to have what's called animism. I am going to give life to things that don't exist. I've got imaginary friends. It's healthy. I can have them. I believe in Santa Claus. I believe in the Easter Bunny, the Tooth Fairy. Okay? I've got an imagination like no other. I am the princess of all of the princesses in the world. I run the kingdom. It's okay. That's where I'm at right now. I can have a tea party with my stuffed animals. They drinking tea. I can go outside and make mud sandwiches, mud pies, sprinkle some grass on it, put some seasoning. I can do all of that. Okay? But I also do what's called artificialism. This is a little bit different. I now give life to artificial things. So I'm going to ask you right now, why do trees have leaves? Do you guys know? Right. It's a photosynthesis process that creates leaves. Some of y'all didn't know that. Y'all just like, I don't know that. Just always had leaves. I'm going to ask a 5-year-old, why do trees have leaves? What will they tell me? Might because it's pretty. The trees probably keep them warm. The tree gets cold and the leaves keep them warm. The trees block the bugs. It's like a fly swatter. To them, they're now giving artificialism to things that don't have the same meaning. Does that make sense? Why does a dog have a fur on it? They like the color brown and they like to wear brown. They might say, my doggy like brown. And you're like, well, why your doggy like brown? Because that's the coat he wear all the time. Well, you just told him it was a coat. You're like, we got to brush the dog's coat. And they're like, coat. I put a coat on to keep warm. I like my pink coat. Oh, my dog likes the brown coat. So my dog always wear brown. They don't understand the difference yet. They're gaining understanding and they might literally say, why? 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 Why, mommy? Why? Because they're trying to process what they don't understand. Does that make sense? They're giving life to things that don't have understanding. So I use the tree. The tree has life, but the leaves don't have the purpose to keep you warm. Unless y'all learn something in botany class I have learned. Yep. You see about 6 years old, they're starting to question a little bit more because they're starting to develop and starting to enter to this next stage. So right around 6, you'll see the questions starting to come a little bit more sophisticated. They need a little bit more background instead of just, let's just use for instance, where babies come from. That might be asked right around 6. Like, mommy, where did I come from? They might ask you at 4 or 5. Like, where the baby at, mom? You're like, in my stomach. Well, put it there. You're like, the baby fairy dropped it off when I was asleep and put it in there. They like, oh, okay, 4 or 5, yeah, baby fairy, tooth fairy. Hey, they all the fairies. They come through the door and drop them off. Right on 6, they like, that's not what daddy said. Um, they might even say, mommy, don't kiss daddy. Daddy said kissing make babies. Like, they just starting to realize something is not where we used to be, and I'm getting a little bit smarter than your statements you was giving me at 4. Okay? If your baby don't get smarter, then we got some problems. But they should start. Why you want to promote whys, because whys actually create the development part. Does that make sense? You got to get the whys. We also have what's called conservation. I am an older child. I am the oldest child. I have a sibling that's 4 years younger than me. And growing up, um, who's the youngest child here? Who is at least the second child, not the oldest? Who's the oldest? Okay, all of y'all oldest. All right. If you're the oldest, you will understand this process. So, we call it pop, y'all call it soda, drink, whatever you call it, Coca-Cola, whatever. All right. So, growing up, I used to tell my brother, his name is Tony, I said, Tony, you want some pop? And he'd be like, yeah. I'd be like, okay. I'm 8, he's 4. This works in my favor. So I say, I'm going to pour the pop into these containers. Now, this container is going to get about this much pop. And this container going to fill it all the way up here. But I'm not going to let Tony see that. All I'm going to say is, Tony, which one you want? Which one you think Tony picking? The big one, because he doesn't understand volume represents anything. All he knows is, I want the big one. And I'd be like, dang, you want the big one again? And I give it to Tony. Okay. I then have Tony say he got a $5 bill. I got 3 singles. I want Tony's 5. So I say, Tony, I give you 3 of these for that one. And he'd be like, 3? Yep, 3 for your one. And he'd be like, okay. And I swap out $3. I make a $2 profit. It's just things you got to do as an older child. You got to take your younger siblings through this. It's a developmental thing. Yeah, it's just the way you do. We used to play the game where you say, I'm going to beat you eating. We're going to have a race. You eat faster than me. He'd be like, all right, I'll eat it all up. I'd be like, okay, if you can beat me. Well, I really wasn't eating it, but he ate slower than me, and I needed him to finish it before I finished it because I get mad because he still has some. So he would eat it all up. He'd be like, I won. And I'd be like, dang it, you beat me. Now I had to enjoy the rest of my ice cream without you having any because I couldn't have the opposite. It's just a part. It's the conservation. They don't understand the differences in sizes. They don't understand the differences in value. Okay? Yep, they don't understand the differences in value or the differences in size. Got it? What does objective mean? It's the purpose. So inside of this stage, they only understand the purpose of things. They are not subjective beings. They only understand the purpose of things. If you say, when we get out of this store, if you do good, hypothetically, I might take you to the park. What did they hear? We're going to the park. Now, when you get to the park, I want you to sit on a park bench and watch the kids play. Do they understand the purpose of this? Because they are objective people. When you go to the park, what should you do there? Play. McDonald's is a perfect example of this. McDonald's has this big thing in front of it. What is it called? What's it called? Playland. Okay, I thought it was Playland. The Playland. Now, you want me at 4 to walk by the Playland to go get some food, sit in a chair, walk back out of McDonald's by the Playland, and go home. Mommy has a problem. She does not understand. McDonald's has a purpose, and it's not food. It's Playland. You don't even have to buy food. Just take me into the Playland. Okay, you can buy a packet of little cookies, and I will be content because I don't understand the objective is just this. Does that make sense? Good. Only for the goal and purpose. Don't try to use anything more than what the goal is. I'm pretty basic right now. I then move to concrete operational stage. I am now able to kind of start logically thinking. I'm going to ask you, how does Santa Claus end up at all the malls that we just left? You told me that Santa Claus exists, but yet he's at every mall. There's a problem. How does Santa Claus get through this chimney and we don't have a chimney? How does Santa Claus get all these places in one night and it take us 4 hours to get to Grandma's house in California? And he do it all in one stop? We got to talk, Mom. We got some problems. Okay? I got some questions. I am now starting to concrete think. I'm starting to understand things a little bit better. I'm also able to reverse myself. I can literally say, Mom, if I was that person, I would do this. If I was there, I would do this. I understand the ability to put myself in other people's shoes now. Okay? My judgment now is based subjectively. I can understand what's best for everybody else. I might start donating things now. I might start wanting to help other people now. Do we understand? Yes? Because on the test, you know it's going to happen, right? You get a scenario, you got to figure out what stage they're in. And you can master that so far, correct? Who cannot? All right. The last stage is going to be formal, but wait, we'll get back to it as we start. We're still in childhood, so all of this still happens in childhood. Once we start to move, we'll move Piaget into what's called the formal stage. That's when we get to adolescence. That's your fifth stage of Piaget. Okay, but we haven't gotten there yet. All right. Now we have Vygotsky. Vygotsky is based on sociocultural experience. Okay, and what he has his method is what is called ZPD, Zone of Proximal Development. What Vygotsky's theory literally says is that we learn from each other. That we process the world by learning from each other. And he has what is called ZPD. ZPD is the process. Scaffolding is the method in which we do this. Okay? So this is our process, this is our method. The method in which we obtain ZPD is called scaffolding. And what scaffolding literally says is that we place people in different levels to obtain success. We place people in different levels to obtain success. The scaffolding. We place people in different levels to obtain success. So I have a group, second graders, third grade, fourth grade, fifth grade. I have a student from each grade. What's going to happen to this group? They're a reading group. What's going to happen here? I'm going to put them all in one group. This is my group of reading. It's the reading table. This is the reading table. What's going to happen? What's going to happen to the second grader? Is he? Y'all don't even know, huh? He can't withdraw. He has to participate. What's eventually going to happen? What's going to happen to his reading level? It's going to increase to what level? Third. Why is he going to increase to third? What is happening is I place them in different levels. As human beings, you are competitive in nature. So if I place you in the circle, he's going to try to obtain his space. He's going to try to obtain his space. He's going to try to obtain his space. This person right here is going to maintain to show dominance. Does that make sense? If I put all second graders reading levels at a table, what happens? Yeah, they just read. I mean, we all at the same level. If I want to read, I read. If I don't, I don't. Once you start reading better than me, my radar's going up. Because I want to know why you read better than me and we all in the same class. I'm going to compete. You are my target now. You become my target. You become my target. That's what scaffolding is. And the whole process is called ZPD. I place you in a zone of proximity so that you can create a better development. That's what the word means. I place you, I zone you according to proximity so that I can increase your development. If all of you have a study group here, let's just use for example, I say you guys get in a study group. We got some F's, D's, C's, and some B's. What group are you getting into? Your F's is probably going to try to find that BA person. You know, can I get in your group? Before that group close out, them C's is going to find them too. Okay? Will a group of all F's get together? Why y'all don't want to get with the group of all F's? What are you going to learn from them? Probably how to continue to do what you are currently doing. Okay? It's because it's just the way it works. That's what ZPD is. Make sense? All reading groups in school do this. Your reading groups in second, third grade, the teachers are actually doing this. They're testing reading levels to zone development. Your athletes, your trainers do this too. They put you next to the person that runs a little bit faster so I can increase your running speed. I can increase your endurance. I can read. Ever been in the gym and the person next to you is moving a little bit faster and you looking like you on 3.3, they on 4, and you like 3.5, 3.7, especially if she like 83 years old, and you like, oh, she was not about to be over here on the 4.0 and I'm on 3.7. You out of breath, but you like because you got this whole idea of zone proximal development. Ever watch weight trainers? Men are good at this. Men at the gym, he just lifted 150, he gonna hit 155. Okay, it's just what they're doing is pushing it. Your friends are like this. How many of you are the smartest person in your group of friends? Good. You don't want to be. If you are the smartest person in your group of friends, you got a problem. The reason why, they'll never push you to obtain the next level. Does that make sense? If you are the smartest, keep that group because they keep pushing you to maintain, but you need a new group that challenges you to get smarter. Does that make sense? This group right here, say you're the smartest group of friends. Who got some friends that's just not the brightest and best? You just wonder sometimes, like, dang, how you make it out of high school? You might even think, like, they gave you a kindergarten certificate. Like, did you really complete that? What happens when you talk to them? What do you start to do when you talk? You dumb me down. You like, let me think how I can say this to you. Um, it would probably be best if, why are you going through all that? Because you got to find a simple word that they can understand and comprehend. Make sense? Now you're about to go to this elite party. I invite you guys to the president's ball. You're about to go meet all these people who graduated from Harvard, Yale, Stanford, all these people who are supposed to be the ritzy people. What you going to do before you get there? I hope so. Let's hope start there. You put the right clothes on. What else you going to do? Most of y'all going to go Google some stuff. Just so that when you get there and they start talking anything, you're like, oh no, the pool. I don't I don't prescribe to that. I usually prefer the non-dominating points of that aspect. Because you want to be a part. So what did them people high up make you do? They just made you get a little bit smarter. Does that make sense? It's always funny when people come and talk to me and they try to use the psychological terms because they like, okay, if I'm about to go talk to her, at least let me make it sound like I got some sense. All right, so they come in and they say, you know, Dr. Medicine, I was looking over the theories. What theory was you looking at? All of them. Okay, and I was wondering, do you think I have any problems? Well, what theory were you referring to? Let me go review my book, and I'll be right back. Okay, people who come for therapy, they're good to saying, I think I'm bipolar. I'm like, okay, why do you think I'm bipolar? Well, in reading the book, the criteria that you have, I fall in line with that. Well, which ones do you fall in line? 5 out of 7 or 7 out of 9? All of them. Okay? Because the idea is that they've got to figure out how to talk to the next level. Does everybody understand ZPD? Got it? Good. When you go home, check your friends. If your friends is all dumber than you, stay there, but get some new friends. If your friends all smarter than you, hey, that's just, we'll work real hard. Mm-hmm. Yes. Yes. Exactly what it is. Exactly. And it's just like you always need that one friend that's really dumb. That when you talk to them, when you get off the phone, you be like, dang, I'm brilliant. Golly, it's ridiculous. I'm just the smartest person to live. You need to stroke your ego every once in a while. But you also need that friend that every time you get off the phone, you be like, dang, I'm the dumbest person that ever exists in the world. Okay? You just need that balance, and that's your ZPD. You need it in life. Now we also have what's called moral development. Kohlberg came out and said, you guys have to have morals. We develop cognitively, we develop socioculturally, we now are going to develop morally. And Kohlberg used this in regards to 3 different theories. His idea of morals literally means we know right from wrong. Okay? The idea is that we know right from wrong. He breaks it down into 3 stages. The first one is pre-conventional. The pre-conventional stage starts off where we literally say we create or understand our morals based on the punishment that we receive. We base our moral decisions based on the punishment that we receive. In the beginning, we based our moral decisions based on the punishments that we receive. So in the beginning, when you first learned right and wrong, you either did it because you were going to get in trouble or you weren't going to get in trouble. That's the only reason why you did it. It had no purpose for you. It had no meaning. It was just, it came with a punishment. Mama said don't do it. Okay. Why can't I do it? Mama said don't do it. Why shouldn't you do it? Mama said don't do it. So you don't do it because of what? Mama said don't do it. Okay? Because if you did it, what was going to happen? You got to deal with mama. That's the only reason why you didn't do it. Let's try it. Some of you still do this today. Driving in the car, 985. What is the posted speed limit? Some of y'all don't even know it. 70. How fast do you go? 80. Why do you go 80? Okay. Only reason, and some of you go faster until you see what? Police up ahead. Then you do what? Slow it down. You pass them, look in the rearview mirror a couple times. They're out of your sight, and you do what? Speed it up. You only follow the speed limit because of your pre-conventional level of things. It's right or wrong, and it's got punishment. Only reason why you follow the speed limit. So next time you speed, just say, okay, pre-conventional level kicking in, police around, slow down, speed up, pre-conventional level kicked in. That's all you're doing, right or wrong. Okay, I always love when people, first part of class, they send me this lovely message and they say, Dr. Master, can I use my book on my test? What's wrong with that question? Wonderful question, so nice of them. What's wrong with this question? I would not know if you did or didn't. So most people not going to ask me because they don't want to be wrong and think it might be a punishment if they slip up and say. But when I was taking the test and I looked in the book and they look like, and I'm like, did you use the book? And they like, oh, dang. So nobody asked. They just like, hey, she don't know it ain't right. It ain't wrong. She don't know I ain't asked her. She ain't say I couldn't. So we good. So those people who ask me, I usually say, no, don't use it. If you had to ask me, I'm going to just tell you, no, don't use it. You at home. I'm at home. It's 2 in the morning. You taking that test. Don't use it. Okay? But you don't do things because of the punishment. Most people don't cheat, not because they got these morals. It's just because it's going to be punishment. If she catch me, it's a 0. Does that make sense? Basic. We still do things based on this pre-conventional. But eventually we get a little bit better in regards to our moral development. We then start to go on our standards. We start to create standards. As we grow older, we start to create standards. We now don't do things based on what we feel is appropriate or inappropriate. Okay? We now have rules. We now don't speed because the sign says 70 and it's the law. Some of y'all, that's not you, but that's okay. We got standards of what we feel. And I'll use, for example, premarital sex. Some of us believe premarital sex is wrong. Our standards told us it was wrong, so we don't do it now because of a standard, not just because we feel somebody might catch me. That was my pre-conventional. If I can get away with it, I'm taking it. My conventional kicks in and says, it's wrong to steal. I'm not taking it, not because it's got punishment. I'm not taking it because I don't believe in stealing. I'm make a little person. It's more conscious. It's literally, I've got standards. But there's a catch to this. Everybody's standards are different. So everybody's morals are different. Okay, it's based on standard, not a certain level of standard. It's based on a person's standard. So if I am a thief and my standards literally say the best part is not to get caught, that's my standard. It's not about punishment, it's about not getting caught. When I reach this level, I'm about to get more sophisticated in the way I take things because my standard says the objective is not to get caught. That's the standard of which I stand by. Does that make sense? Premarital sex is the one I use a lot because some people don't believe it's wrong. So I can't tell them, oh, what are wrong with their morals? There's nothing wrong with their morals. They're just a different standard than mine. Does that make sense? Lying is another one. Taught my whole life lying is wrong. Don't lie, don't lie, don't lie, don't lie. A liar should tarry in God's sight. Don't lie, don't lie, don't lie. Now, how successful have I been at following this rule? Okay, I try on a daily basis. But guess what you never have to teach a child how to do? Lie. It starts as early as they start to speak. Did you do that? And they will freeze for a minute, contemplate. And as they start, the lie is coming. Did I do it? Then if you didn't do it, who did it? Somebody did it. What are they doing? They're lying. And if I can get away with it, I've learned now to master it. As you get older, you master your levels of lying. So the first person to say, have you ever lied? Oh, I don't lie. You just lied. There you go. You're a part of the group now because you just lied. But everybody's standards is different. That is huge to understand. So we can't literally say, I'll use, for example, in a tribe in Africa, on the 13th birthday of their girls, they actually cut off her clitoris. They take a knife and literally slice her clitoris off. They do this in an effort to preserve her because she is considered property and have no value. Is it wrong? Okay. It also, if we look at it from our side, what they're looking at, we've got 10, 12, 13-year-olds who are having babies. So their thought is, you've got 12-year-olds who aren't developed having children. We've just cut our numbers down by doing this. Who's right? I can't say who's right or wrong because that's their standard. Living in Michigan, we have a huge Islamic population. And growing up, I used to always tell my mother, that's wrong. And what I was saying was wrong is that it was 90 degrees outside. This woman was dressed in all black. She had to sit in the back seat of the car. And she had to always walk behind her husband who had shorts and flip-flops on. And I said, Mama, that's wrong. That's wrong. And she would say, what's wrong? And I'm like, does she got her dressed like that? And she would say, who got her dressed this morning? She got herself dressed this morning. So why is it wrong? How do you know she didn't want to wear that? Because it's hot outside. And she's like, is she sweating? No. And she says, and another girl walked by who would have tank top, shorts on, stuff hanging everywhere. And my mother says, is that wrong? And I would look like, yeah. So who's wrong the most? I'm like, they're both wrong. She said, you can't be both wrong. Either you should be fully dressed or not dressed. Who's wrong? I'm like, because their standards are different. Okay, so it literally says we look at in a lot of different things. Standards are based on conventional level, but it tells you what you do or don't do. Got it? You then should move to post-conventional level. Post-conventional level, you are now doing things based on social order. You are trying to do things to make sure that the larger group is healthy, the larger group is successful, the larger group is in order. So I don't speed because I don't want to cause accidents. I don't steal because I don't want the cost of merchandise to go up for others. Does that make sense? My morals have now got beyond my social circle and now looks at the masses. I do things based on the larger group. Does everybody see the differences? So I started off just doing things based on right and wrong. I then created some standards Now I view things based on an overall view of what's best for the population. You can figure them out. You can identify them in some scenarios because they're on your test, on your final exam, on your quiz. They're just gonna pop up all over the place. So you got them because you still got some more people to learn. So have you mastered them? You got it. Good. You're not saying nothing. Hmm. All right. Let's see where we are. What slide are we on? All right. We're gonna stop here. I will not give you Erickson yet. What you're gonna learn next is Erickson, Mara,